And I want to bring the two men who started that petition, leading to a rare show of unity and the Epstein files on the verge of being released. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie and Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna. Thank you both for coming on. Just first of all, do either of you know the status of the bill? Do you know if it's made its way to the White House or when the president will sign it?
The Senate sent it to the White House, so unless they've lost it, it should be there. And he has 10 calendar days, not counting Sunday, to sign it, according to my staff. So we think it's about December 1st when he has to sign this. Maybe they want to slow it down a little bit because it starts a very aggressive 30-day calendar. They have to release the files within 30 days after the bill is enacted into law.
Congressman Ro Khanna, I want to bring you in on this. Are you worried at all that there could be some extra hurdles or obstacles here?
I'm confident the president will sign it. He was embarrassed once where he had to reverse himself. He knows that there was an overwhelming vote, and he knows the math. I mean, the last thing he wants to do is drag this story on of him not complying. The question, though, is whether all the files will be released. Now, I am concerned because Pam Bondi in the past said there's nothing more to release. Now suddenly she's saying, well, we're going to follow the law and there's more to release. So obviously there was a contradiction. But I do believe that they will ultimately release the files because we have upped the stakes. Because my bill with Congressman Massie has passed, now it is a criminal offense for any career official at the Justice Department or the FBI not to release these files. It's a contempt of Congress. So it's no longer, oh, we just don't feel like doing it. Now you're violating federal law, and that's something very serious.
Well, Congressman Massie, Attorney General Pam Bondi repeatedly said today that she would follow the law when it comes to releasing the Epstein files. Do you believe that means the Justice Department will release all of the Epstein files within 30 days?
They're eventually going to have to. Look, there is an exception for ongoing investigations, but you can't have 2 or 3 ongoing investigations and claim that you're not going to release any of the Epstein files, because our bill, the law that she says she's going to follow, says that the exceptions for ongoing investigations have to be narrowly tailored to the investigation. They would have to jeopardize the investigation, and they can only be temporary. So she doesn't have carte blanche to withhold a whole tranche of files. And I heard her say tens of thousands or 30,000 documents have been released. We're not counting by the number of documents that have been released. We're counting by the number of perpetrators who have been indicted.
Congressman Khanna, Democratic Congressman, your colleague there, Jamie Raskin, has been at the forefront of pushing for the release of the Epstein files. But last night, as the House voted against reprimanding Democratic delegate Stacey Plaskett for communicating with Epstein during a 2019 congressional hearing, Raskin said this. Let's listen.
They want to arraign her on some charges based on a newspaper article that she did something lawful. However ill-advised it may have been, she took a phone call from one of her constituents.
But Epstein was already a convicted sex criminal when Plaskett communicated with him. Is Congressman Raskin downplaying this and giving her a pass?
Well, what she did was wrong. I don't defend it. I don't believe that it rises to the level of kicking people off their committees, and I don't like that we're doing that in a tit-for-tat fashion in the Congress. But certainly what she did was wrong, and I believe whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have to have accountability. I mean, what Larry Summers did, texting and emailing Jeffrey Epstein, was wrong. And so one of the things that Thomas and I have been committed to is let the facts come out, and the people who are part of the Epstein class need to be held accountable, and they need to go. And it's not a matter of Democrat or Republican.
Right. I mean, both Democrats and Republicans, including Trump, their names have been in these emails, or they were exchanging these communications. I'm wondering, Congressman Massie, as you look back over this journey that you've been on with others, including Congressman Khanna and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Congresswoman Boebert, how do you make sense of all the whiplash and how we got to this point, and we're not going to release anything, and bringing, Congresswoman Boebert into the situation room to try and get her not to sign, and then here we are with the near unanimous vote to release the files? Like, how do we make sense of that?
Well, my hat is off to Lauren Boebert for withstanding that tremendous whip effort, and also to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace for staying with Roe and I, keeping their signatures on the document. A lot of my colleagues do have whiplash. You know, the vote was 427 to 1. I went up and shook the guy's hand who was the one. I said, well, at least you didn't flip-flop twice. You know, I respect that. If it's a hoax, it sounds like Pam Bondi has had this information at the same time that the president has still been calling it a hoax or a Democrat hoax. So not only are they changing their tune all the time, they don't seem to be singing from the same hymnal.
What do you make of that, Congressman Khanna, and also this investigation DOJ is launching into Democrats after DOJ had said that there was no more investigation to be done here?
Well, first of all, the credit goes to the survivors. I mean, they really came to the Capitol twice, and we see that when courageous Americans who are not political speak out, they can move presidents, they can move speakers. They really will have the last word, especially if it's a righteous cause. One of the reasons there's been such an outpouring on this is not just the justice for survivors. People also like that Congress seems functional again, that we've reasserted our role. We are Article 1. We're not supplicants to the president, regardless of who's in the White House. And it shows that when you build creative coalitions, when you're willing to work across the aisle, you can actually get something done. I want anyone investigated, but I don't want it to be politicized because that's a disservice to these survivors. These survivors want the facts out. They want the files released. They don't want it politicized. Some of them voted for President Trump. Some of them didn't. And we need to honor them.
On a different issue, you both connected years ago working on legislation to halt U.S. military support to Saudi Arabia for its war in Yemen. Congressman Massey, do you take issue at all with how President Trump yesterday defended Saudi Arabia's human rights record and said Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had nothing to do with the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi? Despite the fact that the U.S. intelligence assessment says he approved the murder, he's denied it.
Well, I'm not completely in sync with the president on foreign policy. I'll have to admit that. This is the problem when you get entangled with these other countries. Do you own all of the things that they do when you are sending them money? How do you vet them? Who qualifies and who doesn't? I'm in favor of sending nobody foreign aid and funding nobody's wars overseas, other than ones that America has to fight.
What about you, Congressman Khanna?
We need more people who are against foreign wars, against endless wars. I agree with Congressman Massey. I mean, why are we getting into a war possibly in Venezuela? Why are we spending money aligned with Saudi Arabia and their defense needs when we could be spending that money here at home, creating jobs here at home? There is an anti-war coalition that is sick of these foreign wars and wants us to support America. And by the way, President Trump ran on that. He ran on America first, and I wish he was listening more to people in his own coalition on this.
All right, Congressman Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.